Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Wayne Denker. I was born in Houston, Texas. I am 23. I currently live in Dallas, Texas, and I am a gun enthusiast.
And how have guns affected your life?
Guns have affected my life in a very positive way. From an early age, my dad, my grandfather, and myself would always go out to the hunting range, and we would hunt, and I'd be able to bond with them, get closer to my family, whilst simultaneously learning about firearms and they're maintaining them, safety, all that jazz.
Were guns a big part of your life growing up?
Absolutely. One of the most interesting parts of my life is that I do have quite a bit of gun knowledge, and I have my family to thank for that, and I find them to be a really good time whenever they are handled properly.
And how old were you when you shot your first gun?
I was 9 years old when I shot my first gun. It was a shotgun. It was a little 410. It's not really all that big. It's a slender, narrow shell. Holds about 50 BBs or so. But when you're 9 years old, a shotgun's going to kick really hard. And so some of my feelings when I first shot one was a little overwhelming and a little scared, because I'd done extensive damage to the target I was shooting at. And at a young age, that's hard to comprehend.
And did you shoot your first gun with your family?
I did, yeah. It was with my dad.
And how were you brought up to think about guns?
I was raised to think of guns as a luxury item and not a necessity. More of a recreational hobby as opposed to a self-defense tool. So.
And were you trained to use guns?
Yes, I was. Not necessarily in a defensive situation, but really more for hunting purposes and just recreational type activities.
And what are your views on gun ownership?
For gun ownership, I honestly think that everyone should have the right to own a gun if they want one. It's not necessarily to say that everyone should have one, though. I definitely think further steps could be taken to maybe weed out some of the people who really shouldn't own a gun.
And have you ever had a traumatic event involving a gun?
Yeah. When I was in Houston, I was 19 years old. I was a waiter at a restaurant, and one of my co-workers had a pair of my shoes at his apartment, and I needed to run over there and get them on my day off. When I got there, I was about to open the door when a gentleman asked me for if I could spare some cash. And being a kind person, I wanted to help, so I reached into my pocket and I pulled a $20 bill out on accident, and I meant to grab a smaller bill, and he tried to grab it from me, and I didn't really want to let it go. It was my hard-earned money, and when I wouldn't hand over the money, he did pull a gun on me.
And how did that experience end?
Well, I'm still here. It scared the hell out of me, though, that someone would go to such an extreme over such an insignificant amount of money. It definitely kind of changed my view on gun ownership in the sense that, again, not everyone should be able to own a gun, but at the same time, people are going to be able to get guns if they want them, whether it be through a legal avenue or not.
Do you currently own a gun?
Currently, I do not. I do really want one, and hopefully very soon. It's just a couple things I need to sort out before I can actually own one.
And for what reasons do you want to own a gun?
I really just want a gun for recreational use. I want to be able to go to the gun range with my friends and have my own weapon, because it is pretty expensive to have to rent a weapon when you go to a gun range.
And do you frequently engage in activities involving guns, like hunting or going to gun ranges?
I don't really hunt anymore. I don't really like the thought of killing little innocent animals, but I do love to shoot paper at a gun range. Me and my friends, at least once a week, we try to go to the gun range and fire rounds. That's one of them from when I took my friend last time. It's a little Justin Bieber zombie, and the targets are cheap whenever you go to the gun range. It's kind of expensive, though, because you've got gun rental fees, you have to rent eye and ear protection, you have to rent the gun itself and the ammunition. So it really adds up. So it's a luxury item. It's when I do.
And what type of guns have you shot?
Mostly just 9mm. It's a fairly common round. It doesn't kick very hard, so it gives improved accuracy. That's kind of the reason why I'm drawn to it. Some of the firearms that I've shot recently have been a Glock 17, which is a German-made pistol. It's a very, very, very reliable hand pistol. In fact, most police officers use this exact caliber of pistol. I've also shot a Sig Sauer P226. That was one of the coolest ones I've shot. A little side note, that particular handgun is about $1,000, and it is German made as well. The Germans can do anything. It's fold steel and make beer.
And how do you feel about the new laws facing our country regarding gun control?
I think they're pretty spot on. There are a couple things I don't necessarily agree with, but I mean, for the most part, I think Obama's trying his best.
And do you feel that criminal background checks should be necessary for all gun purchases?
Yeah, absolutely. Reason being is because, you know, you can't just trust the average Joe to come in and buy a gun for good intentions. Recently, my girlfriend and I were watching C-SPAN, and there was a public forum that was being held in California, and the topic was gun control. And there was a lady that got up to speak. She had 60 seconds to talk, and in that 60 seconds she talked about her sister who had never had a history of mental illness but was in a deep depression, and she was able to buy a gun the same day, go home, and shoot herself.
And so do you feel that mental health exams should also be necessary?
100%. You know, if there had been some type of psychologist or psychiatrist that had maybe caught on that this particular lady was depressed, maybe he could have done something to keep her from getting a gun. Maybe that lady would still be alive.
Okay. And what is your stance on the assault weapons ban and the restoring the 10-round limit on ammunition magazines?
I honestly think that's ridiculous. I think if we were to focus more on who can have a gun, that those laws wouldn't really be necessary. I feel like if the right people have them, maybe it's not as big a deal, but I mean, at the same time, it's the people you don't expect can be the ones that are behind the trigger.
And did your stance change on assault weapons after hearing about the incidents in Newtown, Connecticut or Aurora, Colorado?
Not necessarily. In fact, you know, if there's one thing that kind of made me a little more aggressive towards weapons in these tragic events, it's actually concealment laws. In the state of Texas, providing you have a concealed handgun license, you can carry a concealed handgun on your person unless there is some type of public sign that restricts you from using that liberty whenever you enter a building. You know, if someone had been in that theater when that guy shot it up in Colorado, odds are someone could have taken him down before he killed as many as he did. And I mean, in the situation with the school, you know, to my knowledge, at least here in Texas, firearms have a, you know, it's a zero tolerance type deal when it comes to schools. So I really don't know what could have been done differently in that situation, other than if there had, like, you know, been a police officer. But I think, you know, those people, had they needed psych evaluations, it would have shown that they were not fit to purchase those weapons, and maybe this could have been avoided.
And how do you feel about people saying that teachers and officials on schools and campuses should be allowed to carry guns now?
Honestly, I think it a ludicrous notion. You know, let's be hypothetical about this. Let's say a first grade school teacher has a pistol in her desk, and she steps out and she forgets to lock the drawer that's in, and a little kid comes up, because, you know, I'm sure I would take the assumption that the pistol would be loaded. A little kid opens her desk, being nosy, he's a little kid, pulls it out and shoots another student or himself. No.
Do the new laws on gun control make you feel more pressure to go out and purchase a gun while you still can?
Yes, they do. I feel like it is something that you know, the United States could easily and quickly take away from us, and I would like to be someone who does have one, because I mean, in the event that there is an extreme situation where, you know, I would need to draw a pistol, I would rather have it than, you know, be on the opposite end of the gun.
Are there any final statements you would like to say about guns or gun control?
I think that psych evaluations will play a really big role in stopping the bulk majority of the shootings that have occurred, you know, or it could have. My apologies. I think people need to be smarter. People need to keep a level head. You know, just a quick example, in Houston in 2012, Christmas Eve, a police officer pulled over a kid for just a regular traffic violation, and the kid, who, you know, had no past record of any type of violent crime or no type of violent history, shot and killed this police officer on Christmas Eve because he didn't want a speeding ticket. So it's things like that that really make you think. Guns in a controlled environment can really be fun. Growing up as a kid, some of my fondest memories are, you know, going to the hunting range with my family and being able to fire several thousand rounds in a weekend, and, you know, improve my accuracy and you know, really take in the pride that my family showed when, you know, I was a good shot. So I think, you know, they can you know, help to build your self-esteem if your family is involved with weapons. You know, it's a great stress reliever.